Meanwhile, the House Oversight Committee is gearing up for a busy year and just announced its new members for the 118th Congress. The so-called Dream Team is made up of 18 representatives, including multiple members who had their committee assignments stripped by House Democrats in the previous Congress. All right, well, joining us now is the man leading the charge on investigations into the Biden White House, House Oversight Committee Chairman, Kentucky Congressman James Comer. Congressman, welcome back to the show. Great to have you on because this is the topic that everyone is so concerned about. You are probing into all of this and asking the Biden White House for more information. But the White House has come back to you and said these visitor logs that you're asking for, this information on all the questions that I just mentioned is hypocritical. But at the same time that they're saying they want to work with you in good faith. So are they working with you in good faith?
No, they are not. And again, Joe Biden campaigned and said he would have the most transparent administration in history. I could make a strong argument that this is the least transparent administration in history. Remember when MarALago was raided over the classified documents? Joe Biden was very quick to criticize President Trump, called him irresponsible, said he needed to come clean, needed to be transparent. And lo and behold, the same thing happens in Joe Biden's glass house. But yet with Joe Biden, there are a lot of differences. It's in multiple locations. We have no idea who had access to those documents. They clearly weren't locked up like the ones at MarALago, and yet Joe Biden doesn't want to answer the most basic questions. The most troubling thing to me over this whole thing, in addition to the fact that they never would have told us had it not been for the investigative reporting at CBS that broke the story, is the fact that after the special counsel was called by Merrick Garland, we find out Donald Trump's personal attorneys who don't have security clearance were still rummaging around the house looking for more documents. So that was essentially a crime scene after the special counsel had been called, and they're still looking, trying to cover the tracks of the Biden family.
Okay, Congressman, so let's talk about that. Because these attorneys, Biden's private attorneys, as you mentioned, were at his house rummaging through to see if there were more documents. We found out yesterday that the FBI, that the Department of Justice had planned on maybe sending some FBI agents to oversee this, but chose not to because these attorneys had been so compliant. And so they thought, no, we don't need to send FBI agents to oversee this. Meanwhile, we do know that there was an FBI raid on Trump's MarALago home. I mean, what are you hearing about this? And is that something you're going to probe into, why FBI agents weren't sent to oversee this process of these lawyers looking through documents?
Absolutely. And you look, this is in real live action here, the example that we've been citing for many months now, that there's a two-tier system of justice at the Department of Justice. The way they treated Donald Trump versus how they're treating Joe Biden with respect to the storage of classified documents. I mean, it's just breathtaking. They raided MarALago, the FBI, with SWAT team attire. They went through every room at MarALago, including Melania's room and her closet and Barron's room. But then with Joe Biden, now that we know it's in multiple locations, with lots of potential security breaches, when you look at the fact that Hunter lived in that house for 2 years and the fact that anonymous donations from China are the primary donors to the Biden Center for Diplomacy. So they didn't, not only did they not raid the Biden residence, they're letting his personal attorneys who don't have security clearance go through and say, okay, if you find something, we trust you, you bring it back to us. And, nobody believes this. Even the most adamant Democrat out here would have to say, this doesn't pass the Snell test. This is another act of hypocrisy, another example of two-tier system of justice in America.
Let me ask you about this, because these attorneys apparently sent everything that they received initially on November 2nd to the National Archives. The National Archives got the DOJ involved. As I understand it, the National Archives is responsible to give you a briefing as the House Oversight Chairman now, and the ranking member, who is Jamie Raskin, a briefing on these documents that were found that Biden had, and then also at MarALago as well. Have you received that briefing?
No. And until last night, we had never heard back from the National Archives. They finally sent a letter to me late last night saying that, that we needed to talk to the Department of Justice. They reiterated that they didn't trigger the raid on MarALago, that was the Department of Justice. So what the National Archives is doing is now trying to pass the buck to the National Archives because they realize what's going on here is not fair. They realize that there are many rules being broken. They realize that Merrick Garland overreacted when he called for a raid on MarALago and called for a general counsel with Trump. Now we have the same thing. So obviously Merrick Garland had to call for a special counsel with the Biden situation. But unlike the Biden situation, he's just trusting Joe Biden's personal attorneys to look around and see if there's anything there that's classified or would be damaging to our national security. They can then look through it and then supposedly turn it over and everything's just fine. I mean, this is a joke. And the fact that the White House continues to punt and not answer questions from the media. I mean, when CNN comes after you for, not passing the smell test, it's getting bad out there. So the Biden people are going to have to come up with a plan and start answering some questions very soon.
So, Congressman, how are you planning on getting some of this information? If the archives is pointing you to the DOJ and the DOJ is saying, hey, well, all this is under investigation, how are you going to be able to get access to it?
Well, the archives are going to have an opportunity to come in front of the Oversight Committee. They can come and be interviewed, or they can come before the full committee. We're going to give them that option. But they're going to answer some questions because, at the end of the day, there's a problem here with how documents leave the presidency and follow the former president or vice president. Obviously, there's a problem there. We wouldn't be in this situation with both Trump and Biden. And it's been a problem in previous administrations. So we're going to have to reform the process, number one. But number two, why has there been such a discrepancy in how Donald Trump was treated? So extreme compared to how Joe Biden has been treated in such a mild manner, and trusting his personal attorneys who don't have any business walking around what is now a crime scene, and they sure don't have any business looking through and determining what's classified and what is not. That's a problem because who are these attorneys? Who are their clients? Do they represent China? Do they have Chinese interests? Do they represent Burisma or the remnants of Burisma, Ukraine? I mean, we have a lot of questions about who these attorneys actually are, and the fact that they're handling classified documents should be a concern to every American.
And why were they at Penn Biden in the first place, rummaging through a locked closet? What were they looking for? But you did bring up Burisma, so I want to bring up Hunter Biden because we brought this up yesterday. New report showing that he paid his dad apparently $50,000 a month to live at his home, up to over $500,000, which apparently didn't show up on Biden's tax records. You're now requesting bank records and investigating this, saying that once you get this information that you're going to hold public hearings. Do you have a timeline for those hearings? When do you think this is going to be?
Well, we hope to start having hearings by March, but again, we're not going to have hearings until we have all the information ready that we've requested, and once we've vetted through the information. But look, we're going to look into that. I've read those reports too. I know he was paying about that same amount of rent to that Georgetown property where he requested keys for Joe Biden, who was going to be the big guy in that business deal they were going to have to help China start buying ownership into the American energy industry. So we're looking into all of this, and I can assure the American people that the truth will come out, and we will be able to have a public hearing to where the Democrats will have equal time. They can ask questions. If they want to defend the indefensible, then so be it. But this is something every American should know, whether or not this administration's compromised because of the millions of dollars from our adversaries that they've received from their influence peddling schemes over the years.
Congressman James Comer, thanks for giving us the latest. We'll have to have it back hopefully soon, and look forward to these public hearings, hopefully in March.
Hope so.
Hey guys, it's Rob Carson. Your retirement funds are being threatened with even more losses from record inflation, recession, and skyrocketing interest rates. Fortunately, the highly trained specialists at American Hartford Gold can show you how to protect your savings and retirement accounts by diversifying your portfolio with physical gold and silver. If you call them right now as a special offer, they will give you a free gold coin on your first qualifying order, so don't wait. Call 866-935-4309. That's 866-935-4309, or text Newsmax to 65532. That's Newsmax to 65532.